Captain Day-Wan stood on the bridge of the New Horizon and watched the stars change color through the view screen. The ship had been traveling for 3 weeks now, heading toward something humans had never seen before. A real alien space station. The thought still made his stomach feel tight with excitement and fear. "Captain, we're getting close," said Yun-Su from her seat at the communications console. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as alien signals filled the speakers with strange sounds. "The translator is working, but some of these languages are really different from anything we know." Day-Wan nodded and looked around his bridge. These 3 people had been with him for 2 years now, ever since Earth decided to send its first real mission to meet the aliens. Minho, his chief engineer, was a quiet man who could fix anything that broke. Jiwoo handled all their weapons and defenses, though they only had basic laser cannons for protection. And Hyun-Soo could speak 5 human languages and was learning alien ones faster than anyone expected. "What do you think they'll be like?" Jiwoo asked. She was checking her weapon systems for the 10th time today. "The aliens, I mean. Think they'll be friendly?" "The messages we got seemed friendly enough," Day-One said. "They invited us to their station. Called it Convergence Point. Sounds like a place where different species meet and talk." Minho looked up from his engineering station. "My grandmother always said to be careful of people who smile too much when you first meet them." "Your grandmother never met aliens." Hyun-Soo laughed. "Maybe that's why she lived so long." Minho replied. The New Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a soft shudder that Daewon felt through his feet. The view screen filled with something amazing. Convergence Point was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. It looked like someone had taken a dozen different buildings and stuck them together in space. Some parts were made of what looked like crystal that glowed with soft light. Other sections seemed to be made of metal that moved and flowed like liquid, and some areas looked like they were made of pure energy, shifting and changing colors. "Wow," whispered Jiwoo. Ships moved around the station like fish in a reef. Some were long and thin like needles. Others were round like bubbles. A few looked like they were growing instead of being built, with surfaces that looked more like tree bark than metal. "Incoming message," Hyun-Soo said. "It's in English. Someone learned our language." "Put it through." A voice filled the bridge. It sounded like wind blowing through crystals. "Welcome, humans of Earth. This is Traffic Control Velthara of Convergence Point. Please follow the guidance signals to Docking Bay 7. Representatives from the Galactic Council are waiting to meet you." "Galactic Council," Daewon repeated. "Sounds important." They docked without problems. The station's technology grabbed their ship gently and pulled it into a bay that sealed around them. Air filled the space and sensors showed it was safe for humans to breathe. The airlock opened, and 3 aliens waited for them. The first one looked like it was made of living crystal. Light moved through its body in patterns that might have been thoughts. When it spoke, its voice was the same crystal wind sound they had heard over the radio. "I am Council Representative Kelthera," it said. "Welcome to Convergence Point." The second alien was harder to look at. It seemed to be made of gas or smoke, always shifting and moving. Its voice sounded like whispers from far away. "I am Nethsik," it said. "We have heard much about your species." The third alien looked the most normal, if giant bugs could be called normal. It stood on 6 legs and had 4 arms. Its eyes were big and dark, and when it talked, it made clicking sounds between words. "I am Krikstal," it said. "Your arrival has been anticipated." Daewon stepped forward and tried to look confident. "I'm Captain Daewon of the Earthship New Horizon. My crew and I are honored to meet you." The aliens led them through the station. It was even more amazing inside. Beings of dozens of different types walked, flew, or slithered through wide corridors. Some breathed air like humans. Others floated in tubes filled with different gases. A few seemed to be made of pure energy. "How long has this place existed?" Hyun-Soo asked. 3,000 years, Kelthara answered. "The Council has maintained peace and order in this galaxy for longer than most species have existed." They entered a huge room with a curved wall that showed space outside. Hundreds of ships moved around the station. But something was wrong. Many of the ships were military vessels, heavily armed and moving in formation. "Is there some kind of trouble?" Daewon asked. The 3 aliens exchanged glances. At least Daewon thought they did. It was hard to tell with being so different from humans. "There has been an incident," Nethsik said in its whisper voice. "A species that was not ready for space travel attempted to colonize a world without permission. What happened to them?" Jiwoo asked. "They were corrected. Crixtal replied with a series of clicks. The wall screen changed to show a planet. It was blue and green like Earth. But as they watched, ships appeared in orbit around it. Bright lights flashed between the ships and the planet's surface. What are we looking at? Daewon asked, but his stomach was already telling him the answer. Kepler 442b, Kelthera said. Your people call it New Terra. The unauthorized colony has been removed. Daewon felt the blood drain from his face. New Terra was a human colony. 5,000 people lived there, families, children. Removed? He whispered. The screen showed the light stopping. Where cities had been, there was only smoke and fire. The Galactic Council maintains order, Crixtal explained. Species that expand without permission threaten the stability we have worked so hard to create. Hyunsu made a small sound like a hurt animal. Minho's hands were shaking. Jiwoo had gone very still the way she did before a fight. You killed them all, Daewon said. We corrected a violation of galactic law, Kelthera replied. Perhaps now your species will understand the importance of following proper procedures. What procedures? Daewon demanded. Nobody told us about any procedures. Ignorance is not an excuse, Nethsik whispered. Your species shows dangerous signs. Rapid technological development. Aggressive expansion. Failure to respect authority. These traits have been observed before. They always lead to chaos if not controlled. The aliens were still talking, but Daewon wasn't listening anymore. He was thinking about the 5,000 people who had just died. People who had traveled across space to build new homes. People who had children and dreams and hopes for the future. We should return to our ship, he said quietly. Of course. Kelthera agreed. But understand, Captain Daewon, your species is now under Council observation. Any further unauthorized expansion will result in more corrections. They walked back to the docking bay in silence. Once they were aboard the New Horizon and the airlock was sealed, Daewon turned to his crew. Get us out of here now. Where are we going? Minho asked. Earth. As fast as this ship can fly. As they pulled away from Convergence Point, Hyunsu picked up alien communications. Her face went white as she translated. Captain, she said in a voice like broken glass. They're talking about Earth, about a final solution to the human problem. They're sending something called the World Ender. Daewon stared at the stars ahead and felt something cold settle in his chest. Humanity's first contact with aliens had just become its last warning. Send a message to Earth, he ordered. Tell them we're coming home. And tell them to brace themselves. A war is coming and the enemy has a 3,000-year head start. Admiral Youngsik read the message from Captain Daewon for the third time. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he didn't notice. The words on the screen seemed impossible, but the video files attached to the message proved everything was real. Alien ships destroying New Terra, 5,000 humans dead, and something called the World Ender coming to finish the job. How long do we have? He asked the room full of officers around the conference table. 72 hours, sir, replied Captain Songmi from Intelligence. Based on the speed calculations from Daewon's ship logs, that's when the alien fleet will reach Earth. Youngsik looked around the table. These were Earth's best military minds, but they all had the same expression on their faces. Fear mixed with helplessness. Earth's defense fleet was a joke compared to what they had seen in the alien videos. A few patrol ships, some mining vessels with weapons bolted on, and orbital defense platforms that fired chemical rockets. What about the Luna shipyards? Asked General Heijin. 3 frigates under construction, maybe 6 months from completion, Songmi answered. And even if they were ready today, they wouldn't make a difference against alien technology. So we surrender? Colonel Insu slammed his fist on the table. Just give up and let them kill everyone on Earth? What choice do we have? General Heijin spread her hands. We can't fight ships that can destroy planets. Youngsik stood up slowly. Everyone in the room fell silent. At 65, he was older than most of them, and he had been preparing for war his entire life. But never a war like this. There might be another option, he said quietly, but it means breaking the biggest secret in military history. The room stayed silent. Dr. Yoon-ji, Youngsik called to his aide. Get me a secure line to Deep Ocean Command. Authorization level black. Dr. Yoon-ji nodded and activated her tablet. Within minutes, a new voice joined the call. Deep Ocean Command, Dr. Bora speaking. Admiral, I wasn't expecting to hear from you. Dr. Bora, I need to know the status of Project Leviathan. The silence on the line lasted so long that Young-Sik thought the connection had failed. "Sir?" Dr. Bora's voice was careful. "That project is classified above your clearance level." "Not anymore," Young-Sik said. "I'm invoking Emergency Protocol 7. Earth is under direct military threat from alien forces. I need to know what we have down there." Another pause. Then, "Leviathan is operational, sir. Has been for 6 months. But sir, the risks are less than certain extinction," Young-Sik finished. "How soon can you have the ship ready for combat?" "Sir, with respect, you don't understand what Leviathan is." "It's not just a ship. It's—" "Then explain it to me, Doctor." The line crackled. When Dr. Bora spoke again, her voice was different. Excited and terrified at the same time. "We need to meet in person, sir, and you need to bring Captain Tejo with you." "Tejo." Young-Sik frowned. "The man lost his family on Titan. He's been drinking himself to death for 2 years. He's also the only person alive who can pilot Leviathan." "Sir." 2 hours later, Young-Sik stood on a platform 11 kilometers below the surface of the Pacific Ocean. The pressure outside would crush a human instantly, but the Mariana Deep Station was built to withstand anything the planet could throw at it. He wasn't alone. Captain Tejo stood beside him, looking better than he had in months. The news that Titan wasn't an accident had done something to the man. It had given him a reason to be angry instead of just sad. Dr. Yunji stood with them, along with Dr. Bora and a woman Young-Sik didn't recognize. "Admiral," Dr. Bora said. "This is Dr. Hyojin, our AI specialist." Dr. Hyojin bowed slightly. "Admiral, Captain Tejo." "Before we go any further," Dr. Bora continued, "you need to understand what you're about to see. 20 years ago, we recovered alien technology from various crash sites around the world. The public never knew, but we've been studying and reverse engineering that technology ever since." "UFO crashes," Young-Sik said. "I thought those were just stories." "Some were," Dr. Yunji replied. "But some were real. We learned that aliens have been watching us for decades, testing us. The Titan colony massacre wasn't the first time they've killed humans." Tejo's hands clenched into fists. "How many times?" 7 incidents over 40 years, Dr. Bora said gently. "Each one designed to look like an accident. They've been studying our responses, learning our weaknesses. But they made a mistake," Dr. Heijin added. "They assumed we would respond like other species they've conquered, with fear and submission. They didn't understand human psychology." Dr. Bora led them to a massive elevator that descended even deeper into the ocean. Project Leviathan began as a simple idea. Build a ship using alien technology but human engineering principles. The aliens build for efficiency and control. Humans build for war. The elevator stopped and the doors opened. Young-Sik had seen many impressive things in his military career. Aircraft carriers that floated cities. Orbital stations that hung like jewels in space. Nuclear submarines that moved like whales through the deep ocean. None of it prepared him for Leviathan. The ship was enormous, nearly 2 kilometers long. But size wasn't what made Young-Sik's breath catch in his throat. It was the way the ship looked. Like something alive. The hull was dark, darker than the ocean around it, and it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Energy patterns moved along its surface like veins carrying electric blood. "How?" Tejo whispered. "We took alien technology and asked a simple question," Dr. Yunji explained. "What if a ship could think? What if it could adapt and learn and grow? The aliens build perfect machines that never change. We built something that evolves." They walked along a bridge that extended over the ship. Young-Sik could see other people working on various systems, but they moved quietly, almost reverently. "The weapon systems," Dr. Bora continued, "are based on human military doctrine. Overwhelming firepower, tactical flexibility, and the ability to cause maximum damage in minimum time. We studied every war in human history and incorporated the lessons." "What about the crew?" Young-Sik asked. Dr. Hyojin smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. "That's where Captain Tejo comes in. Leviathan doesn't just need a crew. It needs to bond with them. The AI systems are designed to work with human intuition and aggression. Most people can't handle the mental connection. But Captain Tejo has something special." "What's that?" Tejo asked. "Rage," Dr. Hyojin said simply. "Pure, focused rage. The ship feeds on it, uses it to enhance its combat capabilities. Most people can't maintain that level of anger without going insane. But you've been living with it for 2 years." Young Sik looked at Taiho. The man's face had changed. The grief was still there, but underneath it was something harder. Something that wanted to hurt the things that had hurt him. What about the rest of the crew? Young Sik asked. Already selected, Dr. Bora replied. Navigator So Young has an intuitive understanding of space-time that borders on supernatural. Weapons Officer Jae Sung has reaction times that are literally impossible, according to normal human standards. And others with similar gifts. Gifts? Taeho asked. We think the alien testing awakened something in certain humans, Dr. Yoonji explained. Evolutionary adaptations that normally take thousands of years to develop. High-stress situations seem to trigger rapid psychological and physiological changes. Alarms suddenly began sounding throughout the station. Red lights flashed in patterns that meant immediate danger. Admiral, a voice called over the communications system. We're detecting massive energy signatures approaching the edge of the solar system. The alien fleet has arrived early. Young Sik felt his stomach drop. How early? 6 hours early, sir. They'll be in Earth orbit in 18 hours. Dr. Bora looked at Taeho. Captain, we can have Leviathan launched and combat ready in 4 hours. But you need to decide now. Once you connect with this ship, there's no going back. It will change you. Taeho was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked up at the massive ship hanging in the water above them. My wife and daughter died because these things wanted to test us, he said quietly. 5,000 people on New Terra died because we didn't know our place. Now they're coming to kill everyone on Earth. He turned to face the others. Get me aboard that ship. It's time to show them what happens when humans stop playing by alien rules. Young Sik watched as Captain Taeho walked toward the boarding tunnel. In 18 hours, they would learn if 20 years of secret work had been enough. If one human ship could stand against an alien fleet that had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. Behind them, Leviathan's hull pulsed with dark energy, as if it could sense that its time had finally come. Captain Taeho felt the Leviathan's mind touch his own as he settled into the command chair. It wasn't like sitting in a normal ship. The chair seemed to grow around him, connecting to his nervous system through fiber optic threads that felt warm against his skin. For a moment, he could sense everything the ship sensed. The movement of water outside the hull. The energy signatures of alien ships entering the solar system. The fear and anger of his crew. Captain, Navigator So Young called from her station. I'm getting readings on 12 alien vessels. The largest one is massive, sir. 3 times bigger than anything in our databases. That'll be the world ender, Taeho said. His voice sounded different now, deeper and colder. Show me. The main screen filled with images from space telescopes. The alien fleet looked like a school of deadly fish swimming toward Earth. Most of the ships were sleek and beautiful, all smooth curves and flowing lines. But the largest ship was different. It looked like a weapon that someone had decided to put engines on. All angles and sharp edges with energy crackling along its hull. Weapons status, Taeho ordered. All systems ready, Captain, replied Weapons Officer Jae Sung. His hands moved over controls that seemed to respond to his thoughts as much as his touch. Kinetic harpoons loaded. Nanoswarm ready for deployment. Cyber warfare systems online. Sir, interrupted communications specialist Hee-jin. I'm picking up alien communications. They're discussing Earth's defenses. They sound confused. Put it through. The bridge filled with the crystal wind voice of Admiral Kelthera. Even through the translator, she sounded puzzled. Scan results make no sense, she was saying. Energy readings from the third planet show impossible signatures. Check your instruments, another voice answered. This one with the clicking sounds of the insect race. Instruments are functioning correctly. There is something in their ocean that does not match our previous observations of this species. It matters little, Kelthera replied. Prepare the World Ender's primary weapon. We will demonstrate the price of defying the Council. Taeho smiled, and it was not a nice expression. Take us up, So Young. Let's introduce ourselves. The Leviathan rose from the ocean depths like a nightmare becoming real. Water poured off its hull as it breached the surface, but the ship didn't stop. It kept rising, using technology that the aliens had never seen before. The hull shifted and changed as it moved, adapting to the different environments it passed through. Sir, So Young said, her voice tight with concentration. I can feel the ship's navigation systems in my head. It's showing me paths through space that shouldn't exist. Trust it, Taeho said. Trust yourself. On the alien flagship, Admiral Kelthara stared at her instruments in disbelief. The energy signature rising from Earth's ocean was unlike anything in the Council's databases. It was powerful, yes, but more than that, it was wrong. It felt dangerous in a way that no civilized technology should feel. "What are we looking at?" she demanded. "Unknown vessel, Admiral," her tactical officer replied. "It appears to be of human construction, but that's impossible. Their technology level is centuries behind ours." "Hail them," Kelthera ordered. "Let us end this quickly." The communication came through on the Leviathan's bridge. Admiral Kelthera's image appeared on the screen, beautiful and cold like living crystal. "Human vessel," she said. "You will stand down immediately. Your species has been judged and found wanting. Submit to Council authority and your deaths will be quick." Tejo looked at the alien admiral for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of every human who had died in alien tests. Every family destroyed by Council arrogance. "This is Captain Tejo of the Earth battleship Leviathan," he said. "You came here to end us. Let me show you how humans really fight." The first shot fired in the battle was a kinetic harpoon from the Leviathan. It wasn't just a projectile. It was a smart weapon that could think and adapt. As it flew toward the nearest alien ship, it analyzed the target's defenses and changed its approach. The alien ship's shields, designed to stop energy weapons, did nothing against a physical projectile that could phase in and out of normal space. The harpoon punched through the alien hull like it was made of paper. But it didn't stop there. Inside the ship, it released nanomachines that began converting the alien technology into more weapons for the Leviathan. "Impossible," Kelthera whispered, as she watched one of her escort ships die. "How are they doing this?" Tejo didn't answer because he was busy. Through the ship's sensors, he could see the alien fleet beginning to move. They were trying to surround him, using tactics that had worked for 3,000 years against civilized opponents. "Jae-sung," he called to his weapons officer. "Show them what happens when they cluster together." "Yes, sir," Jae-sung replied. His fingers danced over controls that seemed to anticipate his every move. Deploying cyber warfare package. The Leviathan's second attack wasn't physical at all. It was information warfare designed by humans who had spent centuries learning how to break each other's systems. The virus spread through the alien communication networks like wildfire, turning their own AI systems against them. Suddenly, alien ships were firing on each other. Navigation systems were giving wrong coordinates. Life support was failing on vessels that had been perfectly functional moments before. "This is not possible," Kelthera screamed at her officers. "They are primitives. How are they doing this?" But her tactical officer was staring at his screens in horror. "Admiral, I'm analyzing their attack patterns. This isn't random destruction. They're studying us, learning our weaknesses as they fight." On the Leviathan's bridge, Dr. Yunji's voice came through from Earth. "Captain, we're monitoring your engagement. The ship's adaptive systems are working better than we hoped. It's incorporating alien technology in real time." Tejo could feel it happening. Every alien ship the Leviathan destroyed made it stronger. Every weapon that hit his shields taught the ship how to defend against the next attack. The ship was evolving, becoming something more than human or alien technology alone. "So Young," he said, "take us into the middle of their formation." "Sir?" So Young's voice was uncertain. "They'll be able to concentrate all their fire on us. That's what I'm counting on." The Leviathan moved like nothing the aliens had ever seen. It didn't just fly through space. It seemed to flow through dimensions that shouldn't exist. So Young's enhanced navigation abilities, combined with the ship's alien-derived systems, allowed it to be in 3 places at once while somehow still being one ship. "Target their command vessels," Tejo ordered, "not to destroy them. To isolate them." Jae-sung understood immediately. Instead of trying to kill the alien leaders, he used the ship's weapons to cut them off from their fleet. Harpoons destroyed communication arrays. Nanoswarms consumed data networks. Within minutes, the alien fleet had become a collection of individual ships with no central coordination. That's when Tejo began to hunt. The Leviathan moved through the scattered alien ships like a shark, through a school of fish. But this wasn't random violence. Every attack was calculated to create maximum psychological impact. Tejo had studied human warfare for his entire career, and he knew that the most powerful weapon was often fear. "Admiral," one of Kelthera's officers called out, "the human ship is using our own debris as weapons. It's turning our destroyed vessels into projectiles." Kelthera watched in growing horror as the primitive human ship did things that violated every principle of civilized warfare. It used asteroid fragments as clubs. It turned mining charges into ship killers. It employed tactics that no honorable species would consider. "They fight like animals," she whispered. "No, Admiral," her tactical officer corrected. "They fight like predators, like something that evolved to kill other predators." The revelation hit Kelthera like a physical blow. For 3,000 years, the Council had maintained peace by being the apex predator in the galaxy. No other species could challenge them because no other species understood warfare the way they did. But humans were different. Humans had spent their entire evolutionary history fighting each other. Every weapon system on the Leviathan was designed to kill other humans, and now that lethality was turned outward. "Activate the World Ender's primary weapon," she ordered desperately. "Target their ship directly." The massive alien vessel began to glow as it charged its planet-killing weapon. Energy built up along its hull until the entire ship looked like a small star. On the Leviathan's bridge, alarms began sounding. "Captain," Hiejin called out, "they're charging some kind of quantum cascade device. If that hits us, it won't," Tejo said calmly. He could feel the ship's systems analyzing the alien weapon, finding its weaknesses. "So young, when I give the word, I need you to phase us 0.7 seconds out of normal space." "Sir, that's impossible. Nothing can survive in phase space for that long." "Humans can," Tejo replied. "We're about to prove that evolution beats perfection," the World Ender fired. A beam of energy that could crack planets lanced toward the Leviathan. At the last possible second, So Young engaged the phase drive for 0.7 seconds. The Leviathan existed in a dimension where the normal rules of physics didn't apply. The crew felt it, a sensation like being turned inside out while falling through space and time. But they survived it because humans had evolved to survive. The news of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Captain Daewon discovered this when his ship, the New Horizon, picked up alien transmissions in dozens of different languages. Most of them were afraid, but some carried a different tone. Hope. "Captain," Hyunsu said from her communications station, "I'm getting messages from species I've never heard of before. They're asking if the stories are true, if humans really defeated a council fleet." Daewon looked at the data streaming across his screens. Intelligence reports from Admiral Young-sik showed that the Leviathan's battle had been seen across half the galaxy. Alien refugees were spreading the story. Species that had been conquered by the Council centuries ago were suddenly talking about freedom. "Are we really going to help them?" Jiwoo asked. She was cleaning her sidearm for the third time today, a nervous habit she'd developed since learning about the Council's true nature. "What choice do we have?" Daewon replied. "If we don't help them, the Council will rebuild their fleet and come for us again. But if we help other species break free, we turn this into a war that spans the entire galaxy," Minho finished. "My grandmother always said that if you're going to fight, make sure you're not fighting alone." The New Horizon had been refitted since their escape from Convergence Point. Human engineers, working with technology recovered from the Leviathan's battle, had managed to upgrade their weapons and shields. They weren't as powerful as the Leviathan, but they were fast and well-armed enough to handle most Council patrol ships. Their mission was simple in concept, terrifying in execution. Find alien species that wanted to rebel against the Council. Give them weapons, training, and coordination. Turn the galaxy's oppressed into an army. "Incoming transmission," Hyunsu announced. "It's from the Sektar mining colonies in the Rigel system." The alien face that appeared on screen looked like a cross between a lizard and a bear. Its scales were scarred from years of hard labor, and its eyes held the kind of exhaustion that came from generations of slavery. "Human ship," it said in broken standard. "I am Foreman Gektar. We heard stories. Council ships destroyed by Earth vessels. Is true?" "It's true," Daewon replied. "We're here to help other species fight back." "Help?" Gektar's voice cracked. "We have dreamed of freedom for 800 years. But Council has weapons, ships, soldiers. We have mining tools and broken spirits. We can change that," Jiwoo said, stepping into view of the camera. "We can teach you to fight." 3 weeks later, the mining colonies were no longer producing metals for the Council. Instead, they were turning their industrial equipment into weapons factories. The mining lasers that had carved asteroids apart for centuries were now being mounted on improvised warships. Explosive charges meant for breaking rocks were being converted into bombs, but the real change was in the miners themselves. For the first time in 8 centuries, the sectars stood straight. They looked council overseers in the eye, and when those overseers tried to restore order through violence, they discovered that miners who spent their lives breaking rocks were very good at breaking other things too. "Captain," Minho called from his engineering station, "we're getting reports from across the sector. The sectar uprising is spreading to other systems. The council is having to pull ships from other areas to try to contain it." "Good," Day-One said. "What about the Mirandai?" The Mirandai were different from any species humans had encountered. They looked like living shadows, existing partially in normal space and partially in dimensions that hurt to think about. The council had forced them to abandon their homeworld 300 years ago, claiming it for use as a strategic outpost. But the Mirandai had never really left. They existed in the spaces between spaces, watching and waiting, and now they were sharing everything they had learned with the human rebellion. "The Mirandai intelligence network is incredible," Hyun-Soo reported. "They know the location of every council base, every patrol route, every supply convoy. They've been mapping council weaknesses for centuries. And now we can exploit those weaknesses," Day-One said. Meanwhile, in another part of the galaxy, the Leviathan had become something more than a ship. It had become a legend. Council forces would detect its energy signature and immediately call for reinforcements. But by the time help arrived, the Leviathan would be gone, leaving only wreckage behind. Captain Taeho stood on his bridge and watched another council convoy die. These were supply ships carrying weapons to put down the Sectar rebellion. Now those weapons would be going to the rebels instead. "Captain," Navigator So Young said, "I'm plotting a course to the Antares sector. Intelligence says there's a council research facility there working on new suppression technologies." "What kind of research?" Taeho asked. Weapons Officer Jae-sung answered from his station. "Mind control devices, sir. Technology to make rebellious species more compliant. If they perfect it, they won't," Taeho said simply. "Set course for Antares. Maximum speed." The Leviathan's approach to warfare had evolved since its first battle. The ship no longer just fought. It learned. Every council vessel it encountered taught it something new. Every weapon fired at it made its defenses stronger. Every tactical formation it faced was added to its growing understanding of alien military doctrine. But more than that, the ship was changing its crew. Taeho could feel his own mind expanding, making connections and seeing patterns that normal humans couldn't perceive. So Young navigated through space-time like she was reading a map, written in her DNA. Jae-sung's targeting solutions achieved accuracy rates that alien computers calculated as statistically impossible, sir. Communications specialist Heejin called out. "We're receiving a priority transmission from Admiral Young-sik." The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. He looked older than he had a month ago, but his eyes burned with the same determination that had driven humanity to build the Leviathan in the first place. "Captain Tae-ho," Young-sik said, "the council has requested a meeting. They want to negotiate." "Negotiate what?" Taeho asked. "Our surrender, I assume. They're offering humanity a seat on the council. Junior membership, of course, but they claim it would give us a voice in galactic affairs." The bridge of the Leviathan fell silent. Then Taeho began to laugh. It was not a sound that suggested humor. "A seat at their table," he said, "after they murdered 5,000 people on New Terra, after they planned to exterminate our entire species. They want to give us a seat at their table. What should I tell them, Captain?" Taeho looked around his bridge. At So Young, who could navigate impossible paths through space. At Jae-sung, whose weapons never missed. At Hyejin, whose cyber warfare systems had turned the Council's own technology against them. At the view screen showing the wreckage of another Council convoy. "Tell them we don't want a seat at their table, Admiral. Tell them we want to burn it down and build something better from the ashes." Young-sik smiled grimly. "I'll pass that along. But Captain, you should know that they're massing their main fleet. Every ship they have converging on the Nexus Gate." The Nexus Gate was the strategic heart of the galaxy, an ancient structure that controlled faster-than-light travel between major sectors. Whoever controlled the gate controlled trade, communication, and military movement across known space. "How many ships?" Taeho asked. "Our best estimate is over 200 vessels, including some that predate most of the species in the Council. Ancient weapons from when they first conquered the galaxy. Tejo nodded slowly. Then that's where we'll make our stand. Signal Captain Day 1 and all rebel forces. It's time to end this. On Earth, in the deep ocean where the Leviathan had been born, Dr. Yunji stood before a new sight that filled her with both pride and terror. The shipyards that had built one impossible vessel were now building dozens of them. Each ship was different, adapted for specific types of warfare, but all of them carried the same predatory elegance that marked human engineering. How many will be ready for the battle? Admiral Youngsik asked. 12 ships, Dr. Yunji replied. Each one crewed by humans who have been enhanced by their connection to the technology. They're not quite human anymore, Admiral, but they're still definitely on our side. Youngsik looked at the fleet taking shape in the deep, ships with names like Apex Predator, Final Evolution, and End of Innocence, each one capable of taking on a dozen council vessels. And the aliens, our new allies? Over 3,000 ships from 47 different species, Dr. Yunji reported. Most of them are converted civilian vessels, but the crews are motivated in ways the council can't understand. They're not just fighting for victory, they're fighting for the right to exist as free beings. Youngsik nodded. In a few days, the largest space battle in galactic history would begin. Humanity's small fleet of advanced ships would lead an armada of rebels against an empire that had ruled for 3 millennia. Do you think we can win? He asked. Dr. Yunji looked at the readings from the Leviathan's latest engagement. The ship was still evolving, still becoming something more than its creators had imagined, and its crew was evolving with it. I think we're about to find out what happens when an irresistible force meets an immovable object, she said, and I think the galaxy is going to be very different when it's over. The Battle of Nexus Gate began with silence. Captain Tejo stood on the bridge of the Leviathan and watched 2 fleets face each other across the void. On one side, the Council's armada stretched as far as sensors could detect. 200 ships representing 3,000 years of galactic dominance, ancient dreadnoughts that had conquered civilizations, planet killers that had ended species, technology so advanced it seemed like magic. On the other side, humanity's small fleet of 12 ships led an alliance of rebels that should have been impossible. Converted mining vessels fought alongside repurposed cargo haulers. Former slaves stood beside their ships' weapons, ready to die for a freedom they had never known. All ships report ready, Captain, Communications Specialist Hai Jin announced. Her voice was different now, carrying harmonics that suggested her mind was connected to systems across the fleet. Signal from Captain Day 1, she continued. The New Horizon is in position with the Sector mining ships. They're as ready as they'll ever be. Tejo nodded. Through the ship's enhanced sensors, he could feel the emotions of every crew member in the rebel fleet. Fear, yes, but also determination, hope mixed with desperate rage. The galaxy's oppressed had finally found their voice, and it was screaming for justice. Council fleet is moving, Navigator So Young reported. They're forming the Spiral of Dominance formation. It's designed to crush rebellion through overwhelming force applied at psychological pressure points. Of course it is, Tejo said. They've been putting down rebellions for millennia. They think this is just another conquered species having a tantrum. Should we disabuse them of that notion, sir? Weapons Officer Jae Sung asked. His targeting systems were already locked onto the Council's lead ship. Not yet, Tejo replied. Let them come closer. Let them think they understand what they're facing. Admiral Kelthara stood on the bridge of her new flagship, the Eternal Judgment. The human attack on the World Ender had been a surprise, but surprises could be overcome with sufficient force. The ship facing her now was alone, separated from its fleet of primitives by thousands of kilometers. Analysis of the human vessel? She demanded. The same energy signatures we detected before, her tactical officer replied. But sir, the readings are strange. The ship appears to be larger than it was during our last encounter. Impossible, Kelthara said. Ships do not grow. But even as she spoke, she could see that something was wrong. The human ship looked different. More angular, more predatory, and there was something else, something that made her crystalline structure resonate with unease. Sir, another officer called out. We're detecting additional energy signatures. There appear to be more human vessels than our intelligence indicated. On the Leviathan's bridge, Tejo smiled. Now, So Young, show them what evolution looks like. The space around the Leviathan shimmered and 11 more ships appeared. They had been there all along, hidden in phase space, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal themselves. Each ship was a predator designed for a specific type of kill. The apex predator specialized in taking down larger vessels. The pack hunter was built to coordinate with multiple ships. The final evolution carried weapons that learned and adapted with every shot fired. Impossible, Kelthera whispered. Our sensors would have detected them. Not if they existed in dimensions we don't normally scan, her science officer replied, his voice tight with fear. Sir, I'm analyzing their formation. This isn't random positioning. They're hunting us. The human ships moved like a pack of wolves surrounding a herd. But these wolves had weapons that violated the laws of physics as the Council understood them. Kinetic harpoons that could phase through shields. Cyber warfare viruses that turned AI systems into allies. And most terrifying of all, crews that seemed to anticipate every move the Council ships made. Begin the attack, Kelthera ordered. All ships target the human vessels. Destroy them before they can coordinate. The Council's first salvo lit up space with energy weapons that could crack moons. But the human ships weren't where the targeting computers said they should be. Navigator So Young and her counterparts on the other vessels had found paths through space-time that shouldn't exist, allowing them to be in multiple positions simultaneously, while somehow still being single ships. Direct hit on Council destroyer Harmony of Spheres, Jae-sung reported. Their shields are down, engines disabled. Should I finish them? No, Taeho said. Leave them alive. Let them watch what happens to the others. This was psychological warfare on a scale the Council had never experienced. Every disabled ship became a witness to their fleet's destruction. Every crew that survived spread word of human capabilities through the Council's communication networks. Fear became a weapon more effective than any physical attack. But the Council had one more card to play. Sir, Heejin called out, I'm detecting energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. They're activating something in the ancient ships. The oldest vessels in the Council fleet began to glow with an inner light that hurt to look at. These were ships that predated most civilizations, carrying technology from when the Council first seized control of the galaxy. And now they were revealing their ultimate secret. Beings of pure energy emerged from the ancient ships. They had been Council members once, biological creatures who had transcended physical form eons ago. Now they existed as living weapons capable of taking over other minds and reshaping reality itself. Ascended Council members, So Young breathed. They're trying to possess our crews. The energy beings flowed toward the human ships like waves of living lightning. They had done this before, overwhelming the minds of rebellious species and turning them into willing slaves. It had never failed. It failed now. The ascended beings struck human minds expecting to find the usual neural patterns of civilized species. Ordered thoughts, logical processes, minds shaped by peaceful evolution and cooperative society. Instead, they found something that had been forged in millions of years of warfare. Human brains that had evolved to kill other humans, to survive predation, to adapt to any threat. The ascended beings tried to impose their will on human consciousness and discovered that human consciousness fought back. They're in my head, Jae-sung called out, his voice strained. But Captain, they can't understand how I think. It's like they're trying to swim in acid. Across the human fleet, crews reported the same phenomenon. The Council's ultimate weapon was failing because they had never encountered minds like human minds. Brains that could hold contradictory thoughts, make irrational decisions, and fight on when logic said they should surrender. But more than that, the human crews were turning the mental attack back on their attackers. Generations of human psychological warfare, refined through centuries of conflicts, were being applied to beings that had never faced such tactics. Sir, Heejin reported, her voice filled with amazement. We're trapping them. The ascended beings are getting stuck in our neural patterns. They can't escape. The tide of battle turned in that moment. The Council's most ancient weapons had become prisoners in human minds. And with each trapped ascended being, the human crews gained new knowledge, new abilities, new ways to think about reality itself. Admiral Kelthera watched her fleet crumble and felt something she had never experienced before. Despair. Not just defeat, but the knowledge that everything her species had built was ending. Signal all ships, she ordered. Retreat to... Belay that order. Taeho's voice cut through her ship's communication system. This ends here. How are you on my ship's systems? Kelthera demanded. Because your technology is part of us now, Taeho replied. Every ship you've lost, every system we've analyzed, every ascended being we've trapped, it all becomes part of what we are. We're not just fighting you anymore. We're absorbing you. Kelthera looked at her tactical displays and saw the truth. The human ships weren't just winning. They were evolving during the battle. Each destroyed council vessel made them stronger. Each new weapon fired at them taught them better defenses. "What do you want?" she whispered. "The Nexus Gate," Tejo said, "and the end of your empire." The ancient structure that controlled galactic travel hung in space like a monument to council power. For 3 millennia, it had been the tool of oppression, limiting which species could travel where, controlling trade and communication across the galaxy. Now Captain Tejo flew the Leviathan directly toward it. "Sir," So Young called out, "if you're planning to destroy the gate, you'll strand half the galaxy. Cut off entire sectors from each other." "I'm not going to destroy it," Tejo replied. "I'm going to change it." The Leviathan struck the gate's quantum core not with weapons, but with pure force. The ship's hull, enhanced with absorbed council technology and driven by human will, penetrated the ancient structure's defenses and reached its heart. For a moment that lasted eternity, Tejo's consciousness merged with the gate's control systems. He felt the pathways that connected thousands of star systems, the barriers that had kept species separated and oppressed, and with the knowledge he had gained from trapped ascended beings, he began to rewrite them. The gate pulsed with new energy. Instead of restricting travel, it opened pathways to regions of the galaxy that had been hidden for millennia. Species that had been trapped under council rule suddenly had access to new worlds,